Welcome councillors, officers, members of the public to the meeting of Strategy and Resources Committee. A reminder, please switch your mobile phones to silent. Mine's up. There are members of the public press attending this meeting virtually. Can I please ask those attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting? The meeting is being recorded and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Reminder for councillors, to ensure that those attending virtually and in person can hear the proceedings and for the recording to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it is a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to each other by first names. There is no fire alarm planned, therefore if the fire alarm sounds, officers will direct you to the nearest exit from the meeting room onto the car park. Thank you. So first item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
Yes, Chair, I've received apologies for absence from councillors Peterman and Ricky Knight, but he has joined us virtually.
Thank you. Item 2, to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on 4th of December 2023, pages 7 to 16 attached. Have some numbers, please. Thank you, Councillor Maskell, second Councillor Cleaver. All in favour? Any abstentions? Any all in favour? Thank you. Item 3, item brought forward, which in the opinion of the chair should be considered by the meeting as a matter of urgency. There are none. Item 4, declarations of interest. Councillors, any declarations of interest?
I have received 2, Chair, from Councillor Lane and Prowse regarding item 8, council tax discounts. It's a non-registered interest, but they will be asked to do the suggestion.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Only on that item.
You might have read that later on.
Item 5, to agree the agenda between Part A and Part B, confidential restricted information. All okay with that? Yeah, Councillor Lane, thank you. Councillor Wilkinson, thank you. All in favour? Thank you. Item 6, Barnsley bus station waiting room and toilet. So update on the Barnsley bus station toilets. As you know, ongoing work to try and do something down there. The toilets in Barnsley bus station were originally closed as a result of almost continuous vandalism and antisocial behaviour, as you know. The design and location of the toilets meant that they were not visible to other users, which probably encouraged that type of use. The District Council and Town Council have for some time been discussing the use of the building by the Town Council as a community hub, but completion of that project would be subject to successful funding bids and is some way off. So in the meantime, the District Council has been looking at other options for the building, which would enable toilets to be provided much quicker. At the moment, officers are looking at an alternative scheme that would see part of the building being used as a cafe with reconfiguration and repositioned toilets available to the public. It is anticipated that a full report asking members to consider which scheme to proceed with will be presented to committee in the next cycle. And I am hoping that we'll be able to get something in there with a commercial operator for Easter this year, as quick as that. So good news is that our property manager, Alan Bond, is looking at options. Alan, are you here? Alan, do you just want to come to the front and just say what options we're looking at? Because I know that we're discussing with commercial operators who might want to take over that bit, but also to get some toilets in there open for the public to use in the meantime, which obviously, like before, the toilets would be open only the time of those businesses would be open, but,
That's right, councillor. So members may be aware that formerly there was a cafe in there, and the cafe leased the most of the building. So the toilets were only open during those working hours, which were about from 8 until 6 every day. The cafe really struggled with the antisocial behaviour that was going on in the toilets. And I want to stress the fact that we can't open the building in the current configuration because those problems won't go away. And there's no commercial sense in refurbishing those toilets, which are end of life, for that behaviour to continue. So before Christmas, I was thinking of options of opening the waiting area only and cording off the toilets. And then since then, I've spoken to a commercial agent who's going to market the premises for a cafe use. The cafe use would need to police the area, but we've looked to put an additional toilet in what is currently the waiting room, and that would be access controlled. We're looking to put in a disabled toilet with daily change facility, which could be used by people wanting to use the bus station during normal business hours. I'm waiting for a report back from the agency. We'll basically market it as a blank space and see what interest comes back from that. But we're fairly positive that we can get an operator in there at pace, really. But I'll bring a report back, especially in August, hopefully in February or early March, just to give you an update on that.
so I think the decision is for us members is that, we know the progress that's happening, and we will obviously bringing some final plans back to the next SNR meeting for us to discuss. But all good news. This does not distract anything from the work. I've already spoke to the town clerk at Barnstable Town Council. It's not distract away from anything they want to do as part of Community Hub. That will still be ongoing work. But obviously the town council would need to get more and more funds. And they've got other projects that they're getting on with at the moment anyway. So they're quite happy with what we are doing. So that is quite good news, really.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I think on the whole, the bus station itself needs an overall appraisal really of how the space is used, because it's not well laid out. The net to gross space there's a real disparity there. So we can get better use out of the whole of the building, and that will come out through the work with the town council on the whole project.
And Alan, it must be said that obviously you've been working on this for a long time. It's not just happened. And I know that you've been working, prior to this, but it's only just become apparent that the scheme and the money that we've got available just to ensure that it can go ahead. Something can happen, which I think could be really good. But yeah. Councillor Maskell.
Thank you, I'm really happy to hear that. I think, some of my residents have to wait quite long periods for buses to get home from work, and during the summer months, when actually in September, when the bus time here was changed, and there was a lot of waiting around. I had a lot of complaints from people saying that they stood, and it was hot, ironically at that point, that they stood in the heat for over an hour, with nowhere to go to the toilet, nowhere to get a drink. So I think that would really make a difference to people. I think the ability to go to the toilet for a lot of elderly people when they get off on a bus before they go into the town is really important. And I think it can restrict people actually wanting to go somewhere if they're not able to use the toilet, if they know they're not going to get to the nearest toilet in time. So thank you, that's really good news.
Councillor Lever.
I don't know. Well, I was going to say this. I mean, I wanted to thank Helen and the team who put so much effort into this already, and it's sounding as though the benefits of working with district council and town council together, and with officers at both levels, is likely to lead to a solution to the problem. Because I think that it's something that we've all been aware of for some time. I know as Councillor. Councillor Room has just mentioned, this has not been just sort of like quick, but it's been going on for quite some time trying to find a solution to this. And I think we will welcome the outcome of this. And we're looking forward to your report next month. See where we get to.
Thank you.
Councillor Krause.
Sure, I was very involved, obviously, back at the time when, and when the bus station was built. I'll come back to that in a second. I just want to say that, you know, you've got to remember that it's part of a transformational project by moving the bus station off of the Strand up there, having the works to lay out the square, which is a fantastic asset. So, you know, the whole project was I say transformational for us at this moment. One thing I wanted to say is that, you know, we're talking about 30 years ago, aren't we?
Yeah.
And I mentioned it to Helen before. But I just think if we are, whatever we do, whenever it reopens in its new form, whatever it is, can we just do a bit of work on the outside? Because the bits of dressed stone, there's the stuff that Simon Fox and Branham gave towards the project. You know, the mayor's swan and, you know, and the castle just needs a bit of a clean outside, and it's worth, I think, if you're going to relaunch it, just cheer that up a bit, because when you come to the roundabout or you come along Queen Street, it just looks a bit tired and it needs a bit of an uplift as well. So if we could find that in our plan maintenance budget to sort of coincide with its reopening, I think that'd be great.
Can I just add something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I should have also said that we will be working with UCC and our parks team to actually do a bit of tidy up in the area. So we'll try and work that in together. UCC have got some funding to upgrade the stands and that sort of thing. I think we'll look to put some additional seating outside and generally make it a more attractive environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth mentioning that obviously district council have been talking to county council because of the extra funding you're putting into the seating and waiting area in the bus shelters, because obviously that's their funding from Devon County. But the good news is that we will be looking to open some form of toilet inside the bus station with a commercial operator where people can get refreshments from as well. So that's really good. So I'm happy to move it from the chair. Do I have a seconder for that? Councillor Maskell, all in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you, Ellen, for that. Item 7, Council Tax Reduction Scheme, pages 17 to 152, of report by the Revenues and Benefits Manager.
In lieu of, so just me.
Sarah.
Morning, councillors. So this is a standing yearly item. Our council tax reduction scheme, we're not proposing any changes this year. Our only change is one of the policies within the scheme, which is regarding care leavers, and councillors obviously approved that, I think, 2 meetings ago. So apart from that, there are no other changes. So we're just really asking us to reconfirm that we're happy with our scheme as previous years.
Yeah. So we got recommendation in 2.1 councillors. Is everybody happy with what they've read? If so, can I have a vote, please? Councillor Clayton, seconded Councillor Lever, all in favour? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So the next
And you'll
item,
be staying for item 8. which
I am
is the
indeed.
Council tax discounts and premiums,
yes, literally interest for this one.
page 153 to 168.
Yeah. So back in February 2023, council approved changes to premiums on empty and second homes. We were expecting the Leveling Up and Regeneration Bill to be passed way before it actually eventually got passed, which was in October of last year. So this report is just asking councillors to reconfirm their decision to apply a premium to all empty properties and second home properties. Instead of from year 2, we start from year 1. And this legislation allows us to do this. We need to make this decision within 12 months of applying it. So therefore, that's why we're bringing it today, as it will be applied from April 2025. The changes as far as the conditional income is £4 million overall. For North Devon Council, it's an additional 420,000. I know John wanted to add in something regarding this additional income.
Yeah. Mr. Triggs,
Thank you, Chair. So members will see in the resource applications that the additional revenue from the second homes premium would generate £4.2 million. Our share of the council tax is around 10%, which is the 420,000 we've shown in section 5.2. That would be built into our financial plans from 25-26 financial year, because this would come in from April 25 after the 12-month notice period. There are discussions across wider Devon authorities around where that money should be spent and utilised for. And there's discussions with other district councils around the money potentially being ring-fenced to address housing challenges. Those discussions are ongoing. So at this stage, the report is to recommend the premium being approved. When it comes to full council for ratification, there may be a further recommendation that the premium is ring-fenced across Devon to address those housing challenges. But that is subject to those discussions ongoing. So obviously those discussions would need to include Devon County Council and the other major preceptors. So at this stage, the report is just to recommend the agreement of premium. When it comes to council, there may be a subsequent recommendation for us to consider.
Members clear on that? Yeah. So do I have a proposer for this recommended? Councillor Lever, do I have a second there? Councillor Bell, all in favour? Lovely. So that one's thank you very much, sir. Right, item 9, 2022-23 carbon footprint report, pages 169 to 182. Report by the Sustainability and Climate Officer attached.
Just checking that the officer is present, Chair.
All right, okay. We'll just hang on one sec. Just want to wait for this. Check. Hi, Don, take a seat. Don, we're obviously on your item 22-23 carbon footprint report. The members pages 169 to 182. Over to you, Donna.
Thank you. Right. So just a brief reminder then, there is no legal duty for us to report on our carbon footprint, but we have signed the Devon Climate Emergency Declaration. And as part of that, we have agreed to report our carbon footprint. There's no specific guidance as to what we should include or exclude. And then also a reminder, carbon footprint is divided into scope 1, 2 and 3 emissions. Scope 1 emissions are the fuel that we burn on site. So that's either gas or oil that we use in the boilers to heat the building for hot water. And it's also the fuel that we use in our vehicles. And then scope 2 and 3 are indirect. Scope 2 is electricity only, and scope 3 is anything else. So that's associated with any carbon emission associated with what we buy in as an organisation, and any carbon emissions associated with what we sell as an organisation. Our baseline year was 2018-2019. This carbon footprint was calculated by the University of Exeter in line with the Greenhouse Gas Protocol and UK government environment reporting guidelines. They looked at scope 1 emissions, council facilities and council vehicles, scope 2 electricity, and then scope 3 they looked at well to tank emissions, which is the emissions associated with getting fossil fuels out of the ground and to a site where they're burnt. Business mileage, commuting mileage, and then the red diesel that we sell at Ilfracombe Harbour. And that gave us a total footprint of just under 4,000 tonnes carbon dioxide equivalent. From 2020-21 onwards, when I came into post, we did a footprint to the same standards and pretty much the same emissions. The only thing that I've taken out is the commuting emissions. the calculation that Exeter University did, and they didn't have any real data about staff commuting at North Devon Council. So what they did, they took an average vehicle, average mileage for a UK journey, and it's really quite meaningless. It's just so sort of, you know, stick a finger in the air and really for somewhere like North Devon, where we've obviously got quite a large catchment and we're quite rural, I don't think that's a very appropriate calculation. So we took that one out, also recognising that since COVID, the council's had a change in its working pattern. Lots more staff do hybrid working or work from home, and therefore commuting is probably much less of an issue for us than it would have been before the COVID pandemic, when everyone was driving into work every day. So our footprint for this year, 2022-23, you can see that it's 3,300 tonnes carbon dioxide equivalent. So there's been quite a big reduction, and that's a real reduction, even though I've taken out that commuting mileage bit. Stationary combustion on site, so this is the fuel that we use in our vehicles and in our boilers, it's pretty much the same. Obviously, we're not expecting that to have changed much. Electricity has, owned transport has decreased slightly, and that's because we've undergone a programme of investing in more efficient vehicles in the waste and recycling fleet and in parks and grounds maintenance. Electricity has gone down. That's just due to more renewable energy being used to generate electricity in the UK. That's not necessarily to do with the energy efficiency projects that we've installed as council. Purchased material fuel, that's the well-to-tank emissions, that's decreased slightly again because of efficiencies in the fossil fuel industry. Transport-related activities has gone down considerably. That's because I took out the commuting mileage, but you can see that overall it's not a big part of our footprint. And then that final section, number 10, sold goods and services, that is purely the red diesel that we sell at Ilfracombe Harbour. And that fluctuates just depending on demand from boat owners. So in a graphical form, you can see that although there has been a decrease, that orange line is the target that we would need to be reaching in order to meet net zero carbon by 2030, which is our council target. You can see we're not doing as well as we could, but actually the projects that we've invested in, we're not seeing the benefits of those yet. So there's a bit of a lag between the money that we spent as a council to improve our carbon footprint, to reduce our energy costs and so on, and then actually what I'm showing you with the data. So I'd expect that when I do the carbon footprint for the next financial year and come back to you maybe in the autumn, that we will see more of an improvement. And then just to summarise really stuff that you probably already know, because we've talked about this in previous meetings, and we've had the heat decarbonisation plans funded through the Low Carbon Skills Fund. And we've got a low energy lighting replacement project, which is pretty much complete. I think Shane said last week there's a couple of street lamps at Beck that are just a bit tricky for them to replace the lights with because of their size and position, but that'll be complete shortly. And we've put in public sector decarbonisation scheme bids for Ilfracombe Pool and Landmark Theatre. We've given some more information back to say it's funding, and we're hoping that that's good news and that we will get that funding. And there's a Sport England bid for energy efficiency at Ilfracombe Pool as well. Mark and I are looking with a number of people in the organisation on fleet decarbonisation. We're starting to identify the vehicles that we want to swap out for electric vehicles, and we've been doing some trials in our parks maintenance team, and also that's being used, the same vehicles for waste and recycling. We're getting really good feedback from staff as to how those vehicles perform and how people feel about using them for their day-to-day job. And I'm just about to take a spec for solar PV for Brinsworthy to senior management team next week. And obviously we've got the Yeo Valley Woodland extension that we're just finishing the last planting this month. So quite a few projects that over the next couple of years we'll start to see a better reduction in our carbon. If anyone's got any comments or queries about the report,
Well,
happy.
first one from me, that's quite an achievement, the reduction. which is really good, on page 170, where you put the total gross footprint down to 3,303. And so what you're saying, Donna, is that likely with these other initiatives that the council are doing, that will come down further.
Yes.
So it's all good work really. So good on you for doing this and reporting back to it. But I'll go to members if you've got any questions to ask. Councillor Clayton.
Thank you. Specifically on council employees, mentioned that hybrid working and things like that. I don't know what facts and figures are. I don't know whether that could be in calculation to a future report. I know when I came to find a car parking space this morning. And so I can't believe that there's most hundreds of cars there. Which presumes that they're all coming into work and not working support. But I don't know what facts and figures are. I said, before COVID, there's been a big change and more people working at home. I mean, what are the actual figures on? And what percentage of time is spent working at home? What percentage of commutes is being devoted? I don't know. I don't really they figure on. Which figures I don't know. But I'd be interested to see that.
I don't have the figures personally, but I'm sure that if I speak to Nikki in HR, that we'll have some information.
The other schemes, I mean, we've had the cycle to work schemes introduced. Still have problems with hills and things like that, and just parts of the country, but I was wondering what other initiatives the council is spearheading amongst the employees. Car sharing schemes, cycles to work, electric bikes, kind of cars, do we supplement that? I don't know, I don't know what scheme we do.
Councillor Clayton, Mr Miles would like to come in on this.
Yeah, just in relation to the first question, Councillor Payne, we don't have the actual percentages of how many people are in all the time, but what we said is that we will be flexible with our working arrangements as long as it suits the individual and the team council. Then there's a whole range of options that are available, from working at home continuously, coming in for team meetings, etc., to working within the office continuously. Most people seem to have settled into a pattern of working 2 or 3 days in the office and 2 or 3 days at home. It does vary. So we have some teams that we found productivity went up when they're working at home, and so they continue to work from home. You're right, the car park does always seem just as full as it ever did, but I think that's probably a change because we have got a car park at the back. And I think what has tended to happen is that people are dog parking at the back and park more up front. So it's more convenient for blocking in this. We have got a spreadsheet which we can make available, which shows the people that are coming in every day, and we manage it so that the car park and the parking arrangements can accommodate those needs, and any changes through the spreadsheet. So it is a mix and a blend. In relation to the initiatives we have got the cycle to work scheme which we promote. We've also got a green travel ban, and we have a minibus that does a regular sort of route from the town centre up to Brinsworthy, and a couple of spots in between as well. But you're absolutely right. Brinsworthy and its location makes it quite difficult for people to walk to work or cycle to work. But within those restrictions, we're trying to accommodate the green travel arrangements. Car sharing as well as something that we can promote as well.
Well, thank you. Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman, there was much debate previously about when we was going to get carbon neutral as an authority, but the reality is, are we actually going to get carbon neutral by 2030? Because the date was later. Is a new one.
So for the district as a whole, it's going to be 2050, and then the council as an organisation, so just within our operations, we signed up to 2030. I'm not aware that that date has changed, but it may be previously, before I came in post, there were some discussions about a later date. But certainly since I've been here, it's always been 2030. Are we going to get there? yes, if we can find an offsetting mechanism, there's no way to do it without offsetting our carbon emissions, and there's an obvious cost associated with that. But currently, I think it's said in my paper, those offsetting mechanisms aren't really robust enough for me to say as a council that I've been into councillors that I think it's worthwhile investing in. So it's very much a yes, if there's offsetting mechanisms, we'll reach carbon neutral by 2030. No, there's no offsetting mechanism.
Do we need to do more to get?
I think we're ramping up. So yes, you know, there was a bit of a lag between the council signing up to the climate emergency declaration in 2019 and then a specific person in post to sort of take a bit of a strategic look at this and think about projects. And then there's also been financial difficulties within the council. It's not like we're flush with money that we can just throw loads of money at improving our properties and investing in EVs. So it's very much that over the past couple of years, we've started to focus more and more on this. And the environmental enhancement team formation means there's more of a focus. Che in the property team, you know, he's just really on top of what they need to do in property, and he's constantly looking for funding opportunities. We just need to do more of that, and at some point in the near future, you know, we're going to be coming to you and asking for you to think about investment in electric vehicles, and then it'll be for a councillor decision as to whether that's the route that you want to go down. So yes, we do need to do more, but for me, I think we're definitely ramping up effort in the team, and you know, it feels to me as if we are sort of starting to gain some traction on this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Councillor Krause, following up on that, you talked about, you know, offset, and we've just had a report. We know that it's just kicking in now, the biodiversity net gain. And what's happening is the private sector are trying all sorts of clever little tricks to make sure they're there. But, you know, I just wonder whether we corporately ought to be more interventionists than we've been in the past. Because, you know, we could be in a position to do both jobs. We could do the biodiversity net gain and do the offset with the capital investment from us. And I think it's something worth investigating together. And at the moment, people that are doing ecology reports for the planning application are also providing the sites for the biodiversity net gain. So how they do an independent report at the beginning, I'm not quite sure. But, you know, I just really think that it's such an important issue. And as we try to deliver our housing, we mustn't say targets anymore, must we? As we continue to deliver on our housing that we need, the best way to put it, you know, we're going to need more and more of this, because the biodiversity net gain, you know, obviously we want to do it on site, but we're not going to be able to produce the numbers of houses in the timescale that we need unless there are great big chunks of land that are available to deal with the biodiversity net gain on site.
Yeah, but unfortunately, so when DEFRA first came out with the metrics for biodiversity net gain, they were going to allow you to get credit for biodiversity net gain and also credit for carbon credits, which would have been great, but they've now stopped that. So you can only have biodiversity net gain credits or carbon credits, so you can't do both. So there may be reasons as a council that we want to look at biodiversity net gain, and that would be something for Mark Saunders and Mark Cantel to bring to this group.
So when you say that, you mean you can't count them for both?
No, you can't.
But you could have 100 acres where 50 acres with one and 50 acres with the other.
Yes, you could. I've got to say, you know, obviously the Yeo Valley Woodland is a great project, and it's really good in terms of improving community access to woodland, and it's really good in terms of bridging a gap between our existing community woodland and another more ancient woodland to the edge of the site. But in terms of carbon credits, we're getting 3,000 tonnes of carbon credits for that woodland over the lifetime of that woodland. So I think it's 100 years. So although it's a really good project, and I'm not discussing tree planting is not going to give us the offsets that we need as a council, and that's why we need to be looking at other things. And there are, it's not something that I'm pursuing personally, but there are, Andy Bell And the Biosphere Foundation is looking quite seriously about this in terms of nature-based schemes. There are lots of other people around Devon who are looking at renewable energy and other schemes. So I think things will come forward because every single council, every single organisation that's got an interest in being carbon neutral, net zero carbon, has got the same problem. You know, nobody's going to get there without offsetting. So we're all in the same boat. So I'm sure that schemes will come through, but they have to be real schemes. You know, we have to be really confident that if we're going to invest money, that actually that is removing carbon from the atmosphere and that it is having a benefit. You know, I'm not interested in investing in Amazon rainforest, which is, you know, meaningless and doesn't really get us anywhere. So yeah.
Thank you. But I think one of the best things in your report is the hierarchy. The carbon management hierarchy. And opposite to Maslow's, the triangle's
Yes.
upside down.
Yes.
And I think as a council, before we make any decisions, that they should be using that carbon management hierarchy. I.e., can we avoid it? If we can't avoid it, how do we reduce it? If we can't reduce it, can we replace it? And if we can't replace it, then let's offset it. And that's the way it's going to be, because by the very nature of building houses or doing anything, you are increasing your carbon footprint. So how do we offset that as a council? And that might be using sustainable materials, things like that. But I think as a council, I think we are already looking at this anyway. But to introduce it in everything that we do is that hierarchy is quite important, I think. Councillor Lane.
Chairman, going forward, of course, because you are looking at other schools which actually goes towards your carbon neutral, so to speak. But the reality is we are going to get benefit going forward through agriculture anyhow, because of the government changes in agricultural policy. So that is going to offset towards what is needed for demo. So I think that's a move in the right direction. In actual fact, the more they try to help farmers with, like say, slurry and all the rest of it, in the gases attached to that, I think that's a move in the right direction. And I think it will all help with our figures going forward, which we need to reduce anyhow.
Yeah, and part of the project that Andy Bell's got going at the Biosphere Foundation is Natural Capital Marketplace, is actually trying to come up with the metrics so that farmers and landowners who are doing good things can quantify that, because, you know, we know that farmers and landowners do lots of good things, but if you can't measure it, it's really difficult to say to the accounting type people, no disrespect, but you know, there are certain people who want to quantify it, aren't they? You know, and so there's obviously woodland. There's a metrics for woodland, and there's a metrics for peatland. But for other types of either land management, so meadow, that sort of stuff, or even management in the sea, the seagrass and things like that, there's no metrics for understanding how much carbon is absorbed, and so Andy Bell is looking with other people to try and get more of these measurements so that there's a wider suite of options available to people who want to invest in offsetting all the landowners and farmers who want to claim credit for what they're doing.
Claiming credit for diversifying, no, specifically. That's finance.
Councillor Wilkinson.
Just to link to what you were saying last night, there was a really interesting section on Country Farm about the effects of ammonia. And you know, I was completely ignorant of it until it was brought out last night, and how the farming are trying to sort it out, but the effect it's having upon the environment and the carbon.
Yes. So the footprint that I report, it's carbon dioxide equivalent. So it's not just carbon dioxide, it's all of the greenhouse gases. So it includes things like sulfur dioxide and so on, so and nitrous oxide. So yeah, it's the whole suite of them. Although as an organisation, say, we don't generally have to worry.
Councillor Lever.
Thank you. I didn't know how many reader, so I was just thinking that it's really good to hear that Andy Bell is doing work of this variety, because obviously, whilst we are as a council, whilst we're seeking to do what we can to tackle climate change and reduce our own input to that, we obviously live and work in an environment where there are many other organisations and peoples and businesses and so on. So forth. I was just thinking it would be really interesting for us at Smashing Resources, maybe Anne and Belle could be invited to come to a future Smashing Resources so that we get a better understanding, so that what we're doing is put in context.
So, there was an invitation to Nicola Corrigan. She was project managing the natural capital marketplace, but she left just before Christmas and so we did a job the effects it. But I spoke to Andy and he has got a replacement. And when that replacement has had a chance to sort of get their feet under the table, they will come to SNR and give you a presentation on the natural capital marketplace. But I'll follow up with Andy today actually and just check whether that person's in post or not. But that's no problem.
Thank you.
Well, Donna, obviously no more questions, so I'd just like to thank you for your report, and if somebody could move the recommendations 1.4 to 1.6, please. Councillor Maskell, seconded Councillor Bell, all in favour? Thank you, Donna. Thank you. Can't wait for November.
Start the election.
No, for the.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, is that as well? November. Item 10, remember, we need now to do the review of North Devon Council Off-Street Parking Places, order 2024, pages 183 to 288, report by the car parks manager. Dina.
Yeah. There's the North Devon Council Off-Street Parking Places order 2024. We've done it in two parts for slightly different to previous years. This covers the regulation condition and recommended changes. And then the next part will be the tariffs for North Devon Council. But we haven't had a chance to consider those, they've not been agreed yet. So it's not part of this report. The main recommendations are on behalf of the other parish and town councils, as laid out in the report. So those are the main ones for North Devon Council. Are to the removal of some of the permits, Barnstaple Rugby Club annual and quarterly permits, the Silver Street permits. That's because of lack of sales, people not buying them, they've gone down to numbers that just not worth keeping in. Silver Street is will be made into a pay and display area, which hopefully will capture some as it's used as a used for parking. And they don't have permits anyway, so it makes sense to have it there. Renaming of the 4 and 7 day visitor to encourage wider purchase. It's not just meant for visitors, it's for anybody, locals can buy that one too, so. The removal of motorhomes from the 4, 6 day, 7 day coach and lorries, because most of them have their own tariff, so there's no need for motorhomes to be on permit. The Albert Lane car park was reserved parking, but since that property is it going North Devon have moved, and it's Claire, isn't it? I can't remember the name out of my head. The property tenants have changed, so the parking is agreed by Helen Bond with the Voice Radio and the new tenants in that property. So there are no permits available to the public for that car park any longer. The inclusion of 7 Brethren Down Park to have charge of play every day, not just Monday to Saturday. That car park, particularly because of the changes over there with the redevelopment of the Tarka Leisure Centre. We had separate areas for each, but now vans, lorries, coaches all park in that one area. Makes sense and simplifies things for the wardens and back office if everyone goes by the same condition. And also to implement all hours. So rather than there being differences between the days and the hours when vans can park and when lorries and coaches can park, sort of thing. To remove the Tarka car park from the Barnstable long stay permit, largely because with the Tarka Leisure Centre now being open, that car park is heavily used, perhaps more so than the long stay, because it's closer to what people are trying to get to. So by removing that car park as an option on the long stay permit, hopefully that will create some more space for the leisure centre users. And we previously added Hardway Head and Portland buildings to the long stay permits, so it balances out. We have had evening resident permits available for some time, but they're not being purchased at all. So there's a removal of those. And that's it for North Devon Council.
Yeah, so we, Lena, we're talking about recommendations in 2.1, yes?
2.1,
2.2, 2.3, 2.4, all those, right?
yeah,
So,
all of those, yeah.
yeah, so, members, any questions? I've got councillor Wilkinson, councillor Maskell, councillor Knight, councillor Bell.
Just a request, please. Obviously you've got all of the car parks outlined here, and the consultation doesn't include also working. I know there's no changes.
Yeah.
I just think it would be appropriate to put them into the consultation
Yeah.
circle anyway.
Yeah, they
So
were,
that anybody who's got an North Devon car park, just say no changes, okay.
Okay.
And yes, there ought to be changes.
Yeah.
Allow the parishes to do.
not a problem, do that.
Okay.
Excellent, thank you. Was it councillor Maskell?
I think, yes, the same for, Croydon Car Park. Although I do think that, has that gone up slightly from £15 to £16 for a whole day?
No, that might be an error on my part in the listing, if that's the case. I'll have a look at that. It could be the same. The tariff increase on that one hasn't been agreed yet.
And obviously I wasn't a councillor when this change was made last year, but I feel it is quite tough on coastal villages to have that high charge for on stay for all day, and it had quite a detrimental impact on the markets in Croydon.
Yeah.
It's not the beach car park, it's the village car park. We don't have very much parking, and it has made it quite difficult for people that work in the village. Hospitality is struggling as it is to get staff.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to have a little bit of consultation on that.
Absolutely. I think that will form part of the
Next bit.
second part.
So Chair, just for clarity, obviously this report's looking at the OSPO itself, not in terms of pricing. So at the moment, the OSPO is saying obviously the same price as what was set last year. Any price changes will come forward as part of the budget setting report, which will come to members next month. So if there are any price considerations, obviously that will be member consideration for February meeting.
Yeah, okay. These are about the orders.
Well, could I also just ask why Croydon Car Park seems to be one of the only ones that doesn't have no sleeping on it?
It does have it on there. It is on there.
It's not on the one here.
Again, I'll check it, but I'm
It's on the-
certain it's
It's on
there.
the side.
It is on the sign. I'm fairly certain it's in the order, but I will double check it.
So we do have quite a lot of issues with.
Yeah, I know that was a specific request last year.
Yeah.
Councillor Knight?
I just clarity on the use of the word van. Because obviously that is, well, you can have a van and a van, can't you? So
Yeah,
how that's explained to the public is I have a van, but it's the same size as the car.
yeah.
It's a standard size base van, but how that is
So as
communicated.
per the signage on the order,
Right.
anything under 3.5 ton unmaiden is considered, can be within a car park. Anything over 3.5 unmaiden needs to be in a.
Obviously spatially, if it fits in a car parking space, it's a car, isn't it?
If it can
But
park
obviously, there's
within,
no way you're gonna weigh a vehicle.
if it can park within the lines, yeah, it's fine, but it also has to meet the weight
Yeah.
criteria, which is a regulation of and condition of the car park.
The council officers go around with weighing scales now.
Well, this is kind of funny. How is that implicated?
Most how many people know the exact weight of their vehicle.
Yeah.
Councillor Bell?
Thank you very much. Just asking on behalf of Bronson, really. Bronson, and it's probably the point of clarification, if you don't mind. Bronson Parish owned car park, but we set our own parking
Yeah.
rates, and what's down here doesn't tie in with what we actually charge.
They are increasing.
They are increasing, but still not to what we're seeing here.
I will double check it.
Thank
It was okayed by Tracy Level, so I'll double check what she sent me.
Very much, maybe. And just a point of order, if you don't mind, of course, Bronson is having another problem as Bruno, Councillor Mascal knows. We're having a parking meter imposed on us by Devon County Council. That is going to impact our parking across the village and it's internal.
Okay.
Right, so councillors, we've got a recommendation set out in item 2. Do I have someone to move those? Councillor Trout, thank you. All seconded, Councillor Bell, all in favour? Thank you very much. Right, thank you very much for that, Lena. Thank you. Item 11, urgent decisions taken by the Chief Executive, Mr. Ken Miles.
It's just another chair. There was one decision taken, which I think was taken by John actually, in my absence, and that was in relation to the properties at Chipnut. And it was to increase from 6 to 14, or 6 to 12. Yeah. 12, 20. Properties to be used for the ARAP scheme.
Yeah.
I think we can. Put it in first of all.
Yes, members, this was discussion we had after the strategy resources. And then obviously because of the timelines, we needed to make that urgent decision straight after the meeting. So it was just to extend the number of units by a further 6 units, which members up with this decision just sets that out in terms of the official decision being taken by myself and the actions of the
So I'll move to note, someone will second that. Councillor Maskell, all in favour? Thank you very much. Right, we're going to part V now, so we'll wait for the clerk to. Thank you for everyone else who has attended. Thank you very much.
Just need to do a formal resolution, Chair.
Can I have a resolution that we're going part B? Councillor Lane, Councillor, secondary Councillor Knight, all in favour?